God bless you, Facebook. How you doing? It's Robert Jenkins, and it is I believe it to be let me see, is this Monday? It's either Monday or Tuesday. Happy holidays to everybody. God bless you. I first like to take out the time to say thank you for all those who've been listening and watching. We're going to continue today on the teaching relationships, better days are coming, and basically giving you some experiences and some scripture background about relationships, the do's, the don'ts of relationships, the ins, the outs, the bitter, the sweet. So we're going to try to talk about that today. Good to see you, Sister Sharon. Sister Mary, God bless you. Been missing you. Haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for coming back. It's good to see you. We're going to talk about relationships, and we talked about it yesterday as well. So if you didn't get a chance, please go back and watch tape 1. I talked about 6 principles in relationships. Good to see you, Sister Rollborough. God bless you. Miss y'all so much. Love y'all too. And we're going to talk about, if you're dating or if you're married, if you're single, if you're divorced, and just basically the things that come along with being in a relationships. And we're going to give some background from the Bible, but basically from experiences and things that God has shared with me. And I hope it's helpful to you because it's very important to learn how to be in relationships. It is sad to say that 1 out of every 2 marriages, even in Christianity, end up in divorce because we really don't know how to be in relationships. So there's a lot of things that we don't know. And better days are coming, and better days always are coming when you have a better understanding. And all that get an understanding. Whatever you get into, you need to have an understanding about that. If you are planning on getting married, then you should read as many books as possible about marriage. Matter of fact, you should read the positive and the negative. You should read about divorce. You should know what not to do. Sometimes we learn what to do, but we don't learn what not to do. So it's so important that we do that, okay? So I'm going to talk about this relationships, and we're going to just get into a lot of things. And if you have any comments, please let me know. Type them in, any prayer requests, and we'll look over those, and I'll try to respond to those as quick as possible, if not today or another day. The first thing I want to talk about in relationships, and let me share this with you. I'm going to be very transparent today, and I'm going to be very controversial. So listen to what I have to say, and then if you don't agree with it, then we'll go from there. The first thing I want to talk about in relationship, and this is whether you are dating, I'm talking to women concerning men, this first point. I'm talking to women concerning men. Whether you are dating, whether you are married, it's so important that you understand this. Good to see you, Lee. So the first point I want you to understand is that make sure in a relationship, and I'm talking to women now concerning men, make sure in this relationship you do not castrate the man. Now you got to hear this. Don't castrate him, which means don't take away, and this is going to be controversial, so we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to deal with the positive and negatives. Don't take away his honor. Don't make him feel like a boy. Don't take away his dignity. Now, a lot of women, when men say this, you're taking away my manhood. A lot of women say, I can't make you be a man. You have to decide to be a man on your own. And that is true to one point. But the other point is this. Nobody can tear down a man like a woman can when he loves her. Nobody can. A woman, you can decide to be a king maker or a king breaker. You can make a man a king, or you can break a man to never be a king. So it's so important as women to understand how not to castrate a man, to take his dignity, his honor, his manhood from you. Should he know how to be a man before he comes into your presence? Without a doubt. And most of the time, the problem is that you meet men who doesn't know how to be a man in the first place. So sometimes a man may say you're castrating him. It is not that you castrated him. He was castrated from his mama. Sometimes mama castrate boys. Sometimes mama stops boys to becoming men by the way they treat them, or the way they don't treat them, or the way they respond to them. So this is a very serious problem that men can be castrated from their mothers. And this is something that I struggle with. I love my mother to death. And my mother had great qualities, but my mother had some negative qualities as well. And to be honest, and that's a reality. My mother, I used to call my mother Jezebel. She was very strong and very controlling. Now, the truth of the matter is my mother was very strong and very controlling because she had to be. When she got divorced from my dad and had to make it on her own, a lot of women are forced into a position to be in because the man is not there. That's a reality. And especially if you're a woman and you get pregnant by a man, he doesn't want to be the father to that child. Now you have to do the best you can to father that individual. but in doing the best you can and knowing and doing all that you know how to do doesn't mean you can't be subject to castrating your son. And this happens a lot. I remember many times in my life that I was growing into my manhood and trying to become a man, but my mother loved me. And loving me, she tried to protect me. And sometimes in protecting me, she smothered me. And whenever I wanted to do some things on my own as a man, she would take that responsibility from me. So that's very difficult. And then when you meet a woman, and there's a lot of dynamics to this, because if you meet a woman, and if you're not careful as a son, if you've been castrated by your mother or been controlled, and a lot of men are raised under Jezebels. They are raised under a mother that is so controlling. So two things happen. Either you get controlled by, you get castrated by your mother, and then you look for women to take care of you, to control you, to think for you, to respond to you, to do everything for you, because that's what mama did. So now you don't love her, you love her for being like mama. And then you may complain when you get this kind of woman and say she's already controlling you, but that's really what you desire, because that's what you've been raised under. And that's a very serious problem. So it's serious from mother to son. A lot of mothers didn't castrate their sons on purpose. They wasn't trying to hurt their sons, wasn't trying to destroy them. The reality is I was trying to protect them. But how much is too much protection from a woman to a son? That's a very difficult thing. And the problem is, if we be honest, is that if the man was in his position and being the man to the child that he should be, then mothers wouldn't have to do that. But this becomes a spiral effect, and it becomes a snowball effect, and before you know it, you men are raised up not knowing who they are, don't know how to be a man, and they constantly would date or attracted to women who wants to be controlling like their mother. Or they lose their whole manhood because they are now with a woman who castrates them, and they fight against that. Pride and ego. So then you go from either with a woman who tells you everything, who you are, what you need to do, how you do things, or you go from the other thing that can't nobody tell you nothing. Now you got so much manhood, so much ego, so much I know who I am, that now you can't receive help. And that same woman who was designed to be in your life to be a help to you and not a hindrance, you can't receive it because you're trying to be your own man. And there's a trick on both sides. So you have to understand that. So how do I be a help to my husband? How do I be a help to my boyfriend? And know that there's some things he cannot do without me, because God has given me the eyesight, given me the love, and I'm in his life to make him better. How do I do that without controlling him? That's a very thing that has to be talked about, and it's serious because you have it on a lot of angles. You have one angle that men don't want to be men in the first place, so they're weak. You have it on another angle that a woman is controlling because that's the only way she knows how to protect them. Then you have another angle where a man is so egotistical you can't tell him nothing and you don't know how to receive help. These are things that we have to learn how to master in relationships. But at the end of the day, the first point we're talking about is don't castrate him. A lot of men have been castrated. They've lost their feelings, so that's why they don't respond. That's why the intimacy is terrible. That's why the communication is terrible, because they've been castrated. And that happens. Usually it happens from childhood. Usually it's not in relationships first. Usually it's with mother. And it happens the same thing in the school systems. This is why I fight against when a man grows up in a woman's society, whereas he's always around women teachers, women pastors, a woman in his home, no fatherhood, no man to give him example of how to be a man. How does he know how to receive help from the woman that God designed for him? How does he know how to receive help when every time help came, it came in the form of control? Or every time the help came, it came in the form of a knife. Always come, that nothing was never right, something is always wrong. And this is a problem that we have from the home, from the church, from relationships, that we have to learn. There's an art to relationships, and we have to learn those things. So a man has to be humble enough to be able to receive from his woman in a relationship, receive from his wife, and don't think that every time she tries to help him, or she sees something he doesn't see, or every time she tries to extend something, that he don't read that as control. Because sometimes when you've been under abuse so long, you read everything as control. And every woman who's trying to help you and trying to better you is not trying to castrate you. But to be able to distinguish that, and everybody who's trying to help you and trying to take you to a better place is not trying to help you. Some of them is trying to castrate you. Good to see you, Pastor Allen. So it's so important that we understand the difference between one person who castrates and another person who helps. Most men don't know how to receive help from a woman. They interpret help as hindrance, as you taking my manhood, as you don't understand who I am. At the same time, a lot of women don't know how to help without controlling. This is the very thing. But my point is don't make a eunuch out of him. Religious in the Bible, they made men eunuchs, and they cut them to the point that they couldn't have intimacy. And a lot of men have become eunuchs, that they're controlled by their woman, or they're controlled by their wife, or they've been controlled by their mothers because they've been castrated. And that's a hard thing for a man to get his courage back. But he can't use his mother as an excuse. You can't be 55, 45, 35, keep saying you castrated. When you going to be able to get your courage back, your dignity back, and understand that your manhood must come from God? And you have to be able to protect that. At the same time, a woman has to look at, can I be too controlling in my desire to help? See, we have to look at both aspects of that. So like I said, I was raised under that. My mother was extremely strong. I knew my mother loved me. She cared. But in her love, she was overbearing a lot of times and didn't allow me to become. And men must become a man. You're born a male, but you got to become a man. And there's a difference. You're born a female, you have to become a woman. And you have to become a wife, you have to become a husband. So those are things, but we have to learn the strategy of how to do that in relationships. And a lot of times he cannot be the man that he needs to be because he's been castrated from mama, castrated from school, or every teacher in the school system is a woman, doesn't know how to treat him, how to respond. You know, like I said, women are designed to be a king maker, not a king breaker. But we have to understand how to do that. And most women are not taught how to do that as well. So that's a very key point. That's the first point I want to deal with. And men, if you have lost that, don't use that as your excuse. We were beat in slavery as African American men, but I can't keep blaming everything on the white man. I can't keep blaming everything on the church. I can't blame everything on religion. One day I have to wake up and say, that's what happened to me, but that's not who I was designed to become, and make a change and become the man that I should become. So that's very important. And if you have a man that's been castrated by his mother or by you or by his previous relationship, that's something that must be talked about so that we can know how to move into a better relationship. Because all of us come with baggage. All of us come with things we've been a victim of or we have victimized other people of, and that's not an excuse not to have a healthy relationship right now. That's the first point. The second point I want to talk about is that men is designed to be honored. That's the way a man is praised. I mean, a man is loved. He's loved through how you honor him. So most time in the Bible it says love your husband, and it's only in there a couple of times, maybe once, which says woman love your husband. It refers to giving him honor. He needs to be praised. He needs to be celebrated into a situation and not destroyed into a situation. He cannot be controlled if he's a real man. Either two things, he's going to fight you as a real man or he's going to submit and no longer become a real man. Now, there are a lot of great men who started out as great men. And Lord Jesus, I hate those type of scenarios that they got hooked up with the wrong woman. And there are Jezebels that will control you, and you will be married to a Jezebel and you will become an Ahab. That is real talk. It happens in church, it happens in families, it happens on jobs, it happens in a lot of places. It's a real thing that does happen. But there are pharaohs, people who will control. There are people who do not appreciate the value of a woman. So just as much as we have problems with a Jezebel, we also got problem with weak men. And sometimes wickedness is only as strong as weakness. And a lot of times our complaint is about Jezebel, but Jezebel can only be Jezebel because you have become an Ahab. And wherever you find weakness, you'll always find wickedness. Whenever you don't find strength that stands up, then wickedness take over. So we have to be honest as men that we have allowed some things because we have not taken our rightful place as a man. But it's real. As a woman, she has to know how to give us honor. Now, a lot of men want honor, but they don't want to make themselves honorable. Okay? So a lot of times we say a man needs to be honored, but is he honorable? Now, does that mean because he's not honorable, do I have a right not to honor him? And that's a very, very touchy, thin line situations. A lot of times when I was growing up, my mother would say this, boy, you do what I say because I'm mama. Now, I can find a lot of things wrong with mama, but do I have a right to disobey